Hey, Foreclosure Fix family, and welcome to another episode of the Foreclosure Fix podcast, where our goal is to help 1 million homeowners successfully navigate foreclosure. I'm your host, DJ Olojo, and if the mission to help 1 million homeowners resonates with you, please do us a favor, like, subscribe, or share this content with someone who you know it can help. Or get them a copy of our new book, The Foreclosure Fix. 12 proven steps to beat the bank, escape foreclosure, and turn your property into a profitable asset. Y'all, I am fired up about our podcast today because I am sitting down and talking to the one and only Daphne Wilson. Daphne, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Y'all, Daphne is someone who I respect and who has been in the secondary note space for numerous years. She is an educator in the space, but she's also the president of Bell Financial Mortgage Investments, and she's a former IT consultant and IT professional. And y'all, she got a lot of taste because that background you're seeing, if you're seeing it on YouTube, is her house, y'all. And so that's not a fake background. That's the real deal. So the girl has some style, some wisdom, and some knowledge, and she's here to share it with you all today about how to navigate foreclosure if you are a homeowner facing it. And so with that, Daphne, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you really for what you're doing in terms of helping homeowners. I mean, that's something that, I've been blessed to be able to do since 2014. And I'm always super excited and charged up to meet people that are, about that same thing and have that same core value. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My background is I worked in corporate IT for over 25 years, and I have a degree in computer science and no prior background in real estate investing at all. As a matter of fact, I started looking at real estate as a means to retire myself eventually. And so I found out about this space really quite by accident. I was deciding to just kind of educate myself on the various areas of real estate. And I attended a free seminar. I don't know if you're familiar with the Robert Kiyosaki Rich Dad, Poor Dad real estate seminars that kind of go on all over the country. And I attended one of those free seminars. And the gentleman opens up the seminar and he says, these are the top 10 or 12 ways people make money in real estate. He kind of goes down the list. He gets to number 6 or 7 and he says, regular, ordinary people, can buy the mortgage and, help homeowners get back on track. And, that would help them. That helps you in terms of, passive income and so on. And so I, decided to focus in on that. And it's been the most rewarding experience because, I really get an opportunity to really have an impact on people's lives at a time that, can be really very crucial for them financially.
Yeah. So Daphne, I want to help our listeners who may not kind of understand exactly what you're talking about, get a little bit more clarity. So what Daphne is saying is that she is in a position now as a real estate investor where she becomes the bank. I think oftentimes when people think of the person or the company who owns their mortgage, they think of the big banks, the JP Morgan Chases, the Wells Fargo, the Bank of Americas. Maybe they think Fannie or Freddie just because, they're, that's the type of loan product that they got. But at the end of the day, there are individual investors, individual small companies who own your note or mortgage or your deed of trust, depending on kind of what state you're in. And so that is basically the industry that Daphne found herself in back in 2014 when she started. And the beauty of the situation is she's basically saying that she is now in a position to help homeowners because she's not a big bank. And so Daphne, help the listeners understand kind of what you are doing as a smaller investor in the space to help homeowners who find themselves facing foreclosure.
Absolutely. What I've been doing for the past over 10 years now is I purchase specifically delinquent second mortgages, which is a very different niche than other note investors. So I purchased delinquent second mortgages with the goal of helping the homeowner get current on that mortgage by, coming up with an affordable payment option for them. So that can occur in many different ways, which, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later in the podcast. But the goal is to purchase a distressed second mortgage and where the homeowner is current on the first mortgage. So they're current on the first mortgage. That gives me an indication that the homeowner is very much interested in maintaining and staying in the home. They don't want to lose their home to foreclosure. And that's a perfect situation for me, because a lot of times people don't realize that if they're current on their first mortgage, but they're delinquent on their second mortgage, that they cannot be foreclosed upon. And that's absolutely not true. And so one of my goals and objectives is to educate the homeowner and let them know, yes, you're current on your first mortgage, but you're delinquent on the second mortgage. And because you're delinquent on that mortgage, you are at risk for foreclosure.
Yeah. And that's a real gem that I think a lot of homeowners don't understand, because I have heard this so many times, is that, hey, I'm paying my first mortgage and my second mortgage is trying to foreclose on me. And the question I ask them is, are you paying your second mortgage? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, you got to pay them too, right? It's that understanding. And a lot of people have that misconception because they think maybe first mortgage has priority and the second mortgage doesn't have that priority. The same thing is when people are dealing with taxes. They think the same thing sometimes, that if they don't pay the taxes, but they pay the mortgage, everything will still be okay. But it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. And so you mentioned something, that you're in a very specific niche, right? That you are buying non-performing, which are like delinquent second mortgages where the first mortgage is performing. And so basically the borrowers who you are interacting with are people who may either, one, have forgotten that the second mortgage even existed. Maybe number two, have gone through a really tough or difficult, challenging season of life. And maybe they did a modification or something like that, and the first mortgage got modified, but the second didn't get modified. Or number three, maybe they filed bankruptcy many, many years ago, finished the plan or started the plan, but when they, completed the plan, they didn't continue to pay the second mortgage, something in that nature. And so you have an indication going into the situation that these people want to keep their home. These people want to stay there, right? And so it gives you so many options as a lender on what you can do. And so for our listeners, kind of maybe help them understand some of those options that your company utilizes when you come across these homeowners who do want to keep their house, but who may not have known that they are delinquent on that second mortgage.
Absolutely. So once a mortgage has been sold, the homeowner receives a letter in the mail that says your loan has been transferred to a new lender. At that point, the verbiage in the letter basically says nothing has changed about your mortgage, but you do need to reach out to the new lender, and this is their information, and this is how you contact them. So one of the first things that you want to make sure that you do is communicate with the lender as soon as possible, early in the process. Now, usually what happens once we purchase a mortgage, we reach out to the homeowner, introduce ourselves as the new lender, and then find out what they would like to see happen with the account. And this is where I get a chance to find out really what is going on with the homeowner and what's going on in their lives, what's going on with them financially, and what they would like to see happen with the account. And depending on that, there are a lot of different options that we can use to help homeowners. One could be a forbearance agreement where, the homeowner can either pay a very small amount every month, or maybe go a certain number of months without having to make a payment at all, and then start paying at a later point in time, maybe after, 3 to 6 months. That depends on their financial situation. Another thing is creating a repayment agreement. And that's where we don't modify the loan, but we create a repayment agreement to bring them back current, keeping the same terms of the loan intact. Another option would be a discounted payoff. I always offer the homeowner the opportunity, if they're able to take advantage of it, to pay the loan off in full for less than what they actually owe. And that's really important because, sometimes, and this happens actually fairly often in the second mortgage space, a homeowner will say, I don't want to have to deal with this mortgage anymore. I'm just going to, take care of it, be done with it. And so they'll pay it off for less than what's owed on it. And then there's, loan modifications. So a homeowner can pay a reinstatement fee or a reinstatement amount to reinstate the loan and then have fixed monthly payments for the remaining term. If they are not able to come up with a lump sum payment to reinstate the loan, they can pay that reinstatement amount over time. Maybe it's 3 months or 4 months. It can be split up so that it's manageable for the homeowner. We've also done some things like gradually increasing or decreasing monthly mortgage payments. So say you start out and you're, maybe only able to make a small payment, but then we can gradually increase that payment over time until you get to a fixed monthly payment amount, and then you pay that amount for the duration of the term. So it also works the opposite way. You can start out with a larger payment and then have that payment gradually decrease over time as well. So, and then of course there's interest rate adjustments, term adjustments, things like that, that are really geared towards, helping the homeowner.
So Daphne, you gave about 5 or 6 different kind of ways in which you can help a homeowner, right? In ways that you can modify, adjust, retrade, whatever you want to call it, the loan. But one of the big things that I always like to emphasize to homeowners is that you can never get to those options unless you communicate, right? And unless you have that open conversation and dialogue. So maybe help our listeners understand kind of what characteristics or traits you see from those homeowners or borrowers who end up being successful in kind of getting to a modification or adjustment or discounted payoff versus those who you ultimately have to not file foreclosure on, but actually take all the way to the foreclosure sale and maybe even take back the property.
Sure. One of the best thing that a homeowner could possibly do is to proactively reach out to their lender. Reach out, call. As lenders, we're going to send out documentation. So one of the things I'm going to send out is I'm going to send the homeowner a copy of the mortgage that they signed. I'm going to send a copy of the promissory note. And then I'm also going to send proof that we are the actual lender. So we're not some third party that's, saying, oh, we could save your home. We are actually the lender on the debt. And we want the homeowner to know that they will be communicating directly with the lender. Because we're the people that can actually work out the loan with them. So that's the first thing, is the communication. And, whether it's picking up the phone and calling, whether it's writing a letter, even email, sending an email to the lender, letting us know we received the information. This is the best time to call and talk. And that's the best possible outcome. Now, what you will see is a lot of time homeowners are afraid, they're embarrassed, and they are very timid about making that call. Oh gosh, this loan is so delinquent. I mean, because we buy seriously delinquent loans. So a lot of the mortgages that we purchase are over 5 years old. And so, that can be very intimidating to a homeowner. It's like, oh my God, I know I've got a lot of unpaid interest and late fees, and this is probably a whole lot of money that I'm not able to afford to pay back. And they kind of, bury their head in the sand and they don't want to come forward. But I'm really here to say that you do not need to be afraid to reach out to your lender. And because we're really not interested in taking over property. The concern is we want to work out a payment arrangement that is affordable for you, the homeowner, and get you back on track and avoiding any foreclosure action. So talk to your lender, respond early in the process. Don't be afraid. We really just want the homeowner to resume making payments or even pay off the loan entirely.
Yep. And that's the thing that we always emphasize on this podcast, and we talk about a lot in the book and everything else, is that the bank does not want your house, right? So many people think that like, oh, because this neighborhood is transitioning or because the property values are higher, we want your house as lenders. And that is so far from the truth. We want the money. We want what we're owed on that mortgage. We want that unpaid principal balance plus any arrears and everything else, but we don't want the house. And ultimately the best win-win scenario for the bank is one in which you either continue to pay or you pay off and you get money versus going to foreclosure sale and everything else, because the bank likes a check, right? And that's just the way it works. And so we always like to reiterate that communication is so key for homeowners when you're facing foreclosure and in any scenario. We can always think back to times when maybe people have owed us money or owed us something or was supposed to do something for us and they didn't come through. It's frustrating. However, when someone can call you and say, hey, this is what happens, I apologize, this is how it's going to change moving forward, you just set clear expectations and it puts everybody's mind at ease. And that's the same thing the bank wants from you as a homeowner facing foreclosure.
Absolutely. And I just want to piggyback off of that. Even there are investors that are looking to acquire property. But it's important for the homeowner to know that even if an investor is interested in the property, by law, they have to allow the homeowner to come current with that loan. So they have to offer some sort of relief for that homeowner. And, it has to be, a legitimate plan. Someone can't just say, oh, you're behind on your mortgage, we're going to foreclose immediately and take your house. It doesn't work like that. There is a process there. And by law, a lender has to allow a homeowner the opportunity to save their home. So whether that's through paying off the loan, some type of refinance, a loan modification, they have to offer that homeowner some form of relief. Now, if the homeowner is really in a very difficult financial situation and they honestly cannot afford the home, well, then that's a different story because they are completely unable to pay. And so that's a different situation. But any lender or investor that owns your mortgage, they cannot just take your house. They do have to they have to give the homeowner an opportunity to bring that loan current and to solve that issue before they move to foreclosure.
Awesome. Yes. So with that, Daphne, that brings me to our favorite part of the podcast, which is our bow tie round. And it's where our listeners get to tie one on with our guest, Daphne Wilson. All right. The B in bow tie stands for your best advice for somebody facing foreclosure. The O stands for one thing you are grateful for. And the W stands for your wildest or most interesting foreclosure related story. All right. So your best advice for somebody facing foreclosure.
is to absolutely communicate with the lender. That's the most important thing that you could ever do, is to reach out, get that. Don't let fear stand in the way. Don't be embarrassed. A lot of people go through a point in their lives where they experience some financial hardship. So that's nothing to be embarrassed about. And it doesn't matter how long the loan has been delinquent. That's still going to have a lien on your property. You're still going to need to deal with this issue. And so the earlier you reach out to your lender and communicate, open that dialogue, then the better. Because what you don't want to happen is to, go into legal, and then there's legal costs on the part of both the homeowner and the lender as well. So you can eliminate all of that, speak directly to the lender, work out something. We want to work out a solution for you. We want a win-win situation. So don't be afraid to do that. Reach out.
Absolutely. Win-win situation. Not a win-lose, but a win-win.
Yes.
One thing you're grateful for right now?
I am grateful for two things, actually: health and peace. And I've gone through some serious health challenges, and that was really very difficult. And to be on the other side of that is really such a blessing. I'm so grateful for health, and then also for peace. I've always tried to kind of create a life for myself that was less stressful, less busy, and where I could really just, enjoy my family, my home, and just my life, and really appreciating the simple things, going for a walk, just having a cup of coffee, sitting out, on the lanai, and, just having a peaceful life, and being able to operate from that place of peace. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Those are amazing things to be grateful for. And I echo your sentiments. It's, that the health piece is so important. And I just think about a lot of the homeowners that we've helped over the years. A lot of them had a health challenge that kind of set them back and that put them in that spot. And, as someone who is healthy, but I have seen it happen so many times where somebody's healthy today and not tomorrow. It is so important just to take nothing for granted. And I love it. So your wildest or most interesting foreclosure related story?
Well, this is pretty interesting because in the second space, foreclosure is extremely rare, actually, because to begin with, our homeowners want to stay in their home. And so my goal is to make sure that they do. And so my track record is actually really great in terms of foreclosure, because I've never had to foreclose on a homeowner, which is, really saying something in this space. So,
definitely saying something for sure.
Yes.
You got the magic touch.
Yes. Well, one of the things that I started early on when I got into this industry was I put myself on the other side of the phone. Okay. So, I know what it's like to not be able to meet a financial obligation. I know how that feels. And I just put myself, in the homeowner's shoes. Now, that said, I did have an incident early on in my note investing career where I bought a pool of loans, which is basically where you buy, more than one mortgage. And so I think at this point, I purchased 6 mortgage loans. Now, I buy second mortgages. In this pool, this group of loans, there was one first mortgage that was in there. And unbeknownst to me, I found out later by having a real estate agent drive by the property. Turns out the property was boarded up. It had burned down. it was uninhabitable. The homeowners were nowhere to be found. And apparently, this property had been like this for a while. So now I'm a new investor. I'm the proud owner of a burned out property. And of course, I'm afraid because I'm wondering, oh my gosh, what if someone tries to go in there and they hurt themselves and, I'm responsible. So I was up all night, trying to find some organization or some person that could take this property off my hands. And it turned out that this was actually in the state of Indiana. And the city was having they were doing kind of like a neighborhood beautification type program where they were buying, these dilapidated properties and turning them into park-like areas. And so, a long story short, even though I ended up taking over that property, I was able to sell it to the city, and they tore it down and landscaped the area and everything. But it was a really scary situation, and it happened early on, and it really made me realize, I don't really want. I don't want to deal with property. Second mortgage notes are really more about the homeowner than about the property. So investors in first mortgages, they're looking at after repair value. They're looking at market, rates and things like that. Second mortgage holders are really, what we want to know is if the homeowner wants to remain in the property, and then how do we get them to do that in a way that's very comfortable for them? So it's more of a people business than a property business. And that's why I love it so much, because, when I can reach out to a homeowner and they say, oh, wow, thank you, because I thought I was just going to be, over my head in debt, and there's no need for that. So, yeah.
No, I love it that you say that, it's more of a people business than a property business, right? And that's what I tell people about real estate all the time, that real estate is a people business. And so you're just helping people solve problems. And so, Daphne, we appreciate you so much for coming by the podcast today. Please do me a favor and let our listeners know where they can get in contact with you, where they can learn kind of more about you and about all the stuff you're doing in the space, not only on the education side, but just as a powerful force who is helping homeowners across the country.
Sure, absolutely. The best way to catch up with me really is by email. If you have a question about, from a homeowner's perspective, if you have a question, if you have a second mortgage and your second mortgage is delinquent, and you just want to ask some questions about what some options might be or what you should do, definitely send me an email at dwilson@notenewbie.com, and I can get back to you right away. If you are an investor, you're considering this space and you want to help other homeowners in the same capacity, you can feel free to visit my website at notenewbie.com. And so there's a lot of really good information on there as well from an education standpoint. But definitely feel free to email me at dwilson@notenewbie.com. Be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Daphne, we appreciate you, and y'all feel free to reach out to her if you do have questions. She is an experienced professional who has helped thousands of folks, and she's definitely willing to help you. If the mission to help 1 million homeowners resonates with you, join me, join Daphne, and check us out at the foreclosurefixpodcast.com. Go ahead and give us a 5-star review, leave us a rating. It helps the algorithm. Or check out a copy of our new book, The Foreclosure Fix, 12 Proven Steps to Beat the Bank, Escape Foreclosure, and Turn Your Property into a Profitable Asset. It is sold wherever books are sold. As always, I appreciate you. I love you, and God bless you. The views and opinions on this podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. If you have a specific legal question, we highly recommend you contact a qualified legal professional.